Base is dropped from a remote location, and this is the beauty of having multiple devices that are not with you. Okay, so hi, John here, you there. Here's the deal. All right, today and tomorrow, we are about 2 hours south of Office HD, and we are doing some stuff for one of the other versions of me, and so that is why it is a hotel background, and it is not the normal background that you see in the office. I apologize ahead of time for using these things because for opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, I'm just going to go ahead and start the day this way. All right, so here's what happened. What happened was this. All right, there's your QR code. Hit the QR code, you start your day. Use the code soccer down here 15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest it in youth games, youth initiatives, stuff that they earmark as cool, as our friend Carlito says. Brought to us at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so here's what happened. Yesterday, I'm packing for the trip. And like I said, I'm here about 2 hours south of the office for today and tomorrow. I apologize for any lag because I'm using these headphones. So you're packing everything for the trip. And all of a sudden you get to your location and you're trying to assemble everything and get it all squared away. And you're sitting there and you're going, something is missing. And you realize that the power cord for your audio board that normally would have you wearing a headset is not with you. And so because of Cruz being in Atlanta and me being here in Middle Georgia, I will actually get it later today because the boss has taken it to the other location where the crew is leaving from. And so I will have it tomorrow. I will not sound like this tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm going to sound like this today. Here's the rundown. Nino and Niko in the Power Hour coming up in hour number 2. Our buddy Nino Torres from GOLTV. We're going to tour the planet with him. We got to talk Benfica. We got to talk Peru. We got to talk about all points in between. Niko Moreno had a late night. It was Leagues Cup. So we're going to talk Leagues Cup after dark with Niko and find out what's going on after the Sounders won 2-0. Messi and friends took care of the purple team. We'll talk about all of Leagues Cup. Get you ready for the remainder of Major League Soccer coming up in just a little bit. But we start, and if you read the 280-character app this morning when I was trying to tell you who was going on, I kind of left out a word. And it was literally the ball watching STL. The word that was after that was supposed to be guys. I'm on a roll this morning. That is the best way that I can phrase what in the hell is going on, because I have just like left everything out the door, and it is not funny. Jake and Justin are now coming in, and they're going to publicly ridicule me, as they should, for leaving half of my materials at home and remembering that Thomas Edison needs a little help to actually get things done. You know, Ben Franklin and all that stuff, whoever it was that figured out electricity. We'll say Ben Franklin for the. So yes, Justin and Jake are here, and I'm going to have my fingers crossed that the hotel Wi-Fi that we are on, which apparently is stronger than going off the hotspot, will not crap out during any point of the show. Welcome, gentlemen. Jeez.
Wow, John, you're against all odds today. We're honored to be a part of it and hoping to make for the start of a wonderful show. But I love the reference to us as just a noun. We can be a noun. We are two guys that do the show, but we can just be, ball watching STL as well. No problem, no sweat off our backs.
Yes, the ball watching is now. I feel like I need to just kind of do the flourish now with the hands with you two. Reason we dialed you up is because of what went down earlier this week, and as we have kind of monitored all caps through your prism, this is the next stage in that process. Traditionally, where we're looking at change in a club, it is traditionally players, coach, GM, and then you go from there. We are now to that GM stage. Who won the toss backstage to answer the first question and go in this order?
I'll go, Jake.
Okay.
It's a heavy hitter, John.
I mean, look, all right, so fine. Jake will answer first. Jake won whatever toss, or Justin won the toss and deferred, however you want to put it. All right, so with the end of the Lutz era happening, if we could walk through this entire thing and have both of you kind of go through this and go, okay, when he was hired, you knew this was going to be an idea. How did we go from what happened in year one on the pitch to now? Jake, I yield the floor to start.
Yeah, I'll give my best summary that I can here, because I think there's actually more history than just what people saw in 2023, right? So Lutz was one of the first people hired at the club when we were established. Now, we were established well before we actually began our first season. Then we were pushed off another year for our first season. So we were supposed to start in 2022, ended up in 2023, but Lutz was hired in 2020 in August. So this is about 5 years of tenure that he actually ended up holding with the club. And so I think for him, never having this exact role description, I think he was in football operations for Dusseldorf right before this. And he had a similar role in more scouting at Hoffenheim. So he had Bundesliga experience, never in this exact role. And I think we all saw that resume. We're like, oh, Bundesliga, big names. And we were pretty excited here, as a first sporting director for the club. He gets onboarded. He's got a couple of years of runway, like I mentioned, to kind of get things going. So here in St. Louis, we have a great club soccer landscape. And I think the academy for him kind of hopefully fell into place, because a lot of what our academy has become is plucking and picking from some of the best in those academies, like St. Louis Scott Gallagher, for reference, like Justin and I both spent time at, and kind of getting soccer up to speed in St. Louis. So building out our academy, getting MLS Next Pro City 2 launched for us as well, which he got done in 2022. And we had an incredible start. Went to the final that year. Did lose, but we got some appearances from some of our first team players. So we signed first team players like Roman Berkey, like Joao Klaus, like Edu Leuven, all to contracts that began in July of 2022, even though he weren't going to start until 2023. So he gave these guys some reps, some run-in City 2, and began to fill out the team. And John, right? Like, we were not the most expensively assembled team. In fact, I think we were the second least in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. And he looked for those deals. He was dealing in the thrift shop. He was looking for undervalued, potentially at one of those crossroads in their career, not get enough minutes. I think of a Jared Stroud, for example, from New York Red Bull at the time, where, he's got something in him. We see something special. He can bring more of that pressing identity, because Lutz wanted that. He brought that. He kind of coined the energy drink soccer terminology, and he brought in a coach that had no experience. First team head coach experience besides an interim stint with the Red Bulls in Bradley Carnell. Look at what he's doing now in Philadelphia, which hurts a little bit. But, he brought in the coach, he brought in the player, he brought that vision. He had a 5-year vision that he kept talking about. I don't know where we ended up on that. I know he had 5 years technically, but I don't think it's probably where we are now. And so we kind of, hit 2024, 2025 after 23's, booming of a season with the Western Conference first place finish. But I will say, John, I think we've said this in the show too, it wasn't all great in 2023. It was really early on, front loaded, amazing, great play, a lot of overperformance and some key indicators as well. The luck was on our side. But kind of fizzled out in Leagues Cup in 2023, and then 2024, 2025 obviously have not been good to us. So, at some point, you got to hold accountability. He's fired 2 coaches in Carnell and Olaf Melberg. Olaf Melberg having a tremendously short reign. He's got to have his fingerprints all over that. So we're still breaking it down. I think we're still digesting it, but ultimately I think it's accountability, and it's time for us to look in a new direction, because where we're headed, having a worse season than last year, I think was something we all expected not to be in that boat. But we're here, and ultimately you got to look at where the buck stops. And I think right now that's Lutz Pfannenstiel.
So, Justin, was Lutz hung on to too long, or was it just a part of this progression that we're talking about, where it's players, coach, GM, and he was just the next domino to fall, and everybody was sitting there saying, man, we were waiting for this, and it finally happened?
It's a controversial point right now, John, with a lot of people in the club. In my personal opinion, being around this and been on reporting on this since 2022, I think he stayed long enough. And to your point, I think he's just the next domino. When you look at this, right, you start with blaming the players, which then the person that takes the blame for them is the coach. And so the next in line was Cardinal. We let go of Cardinal. Then we hired Olaf. Next in line was Olaf. So then the team is still struggling, and the question is, where do you go next? And I think it goes to Lutz Era still. Do I think that it's 100% fair? I think there is some blame to be put there, but then also you have to look at what's happening on the field. If you look at this last 2 seasons, we have 13 wins, 29 losses, and 19 draws. It's less than 1 point per match. Is that all on Lutz? No, because I do want to mention, as Jake already said, the roster that he has built, I very much appreciated. When you look at signing Roman Berkey, Joao Klaus, and Edu Leuven, our spine up the middle, I would give all the credit to Lutz. And then if you add on some additions with Toy Shirt and Hartel, some bigger names on the front four that we've been playing with, that is, again, is Bundesliga 2, German youth national team. That's all to Lutz. So I do think that he has constructed a roster that has been competitive. However, if you guys have noticed, I've not been able to stay healthy, things of that nature. But also there is a blame for the man that is ultimately kind of pulling the strings in all of this with the coach and the players. So unfortunately, I think he was just the next domino.
All right, I'm calling snake draft. Justin, next one's for you. When it comes to Olaf, was it too quick a trigger, or had things just degraded to the point to where, man, we got to do something, and it's, Olaf into the airlock? I mean, what happened there?
I don't think Olaf was too quick of a trigger. That one was a very odd one for us when you look at what this team is built around, the energy drink soccer. And it seemed like that it was a very weird press conference afterwards when they let him go with Lutz and Diego, explaining how they let this happen. Because Olaf apparently came over and said he was going to play that style, and then we went with a 5 in the back. And if you noticed, I think in our first 4 games, we only gave up 1 goal, maybe 2 goals. We were like, wow, incredible defense, but we're not scoring anything. Completely flip-flopped of the entire just situation that we've been having in City for the past couple of years. So I was fine with the Olaf let go, where a lot of people have been up in arms on Twitter and all other social media ever since now Lutz has been let go is, did we fire Cardinal too quick? Because you look at what he's doing in Philadelphia, incredible things. And the quick answer to that, John, in my opinion, people forget is that he lost the locker room. So no, I don't think we let Cardinal go too early, because yes, he was a hell of a coach. However, if you don't have the locker room and the guys that want to play for you, you're not going anywhere. I do not think that if we had Cardinal, we'd be doing the same thing that he's doing in Philadelphia. So that's really the triggering point for a lot of people is, well, Lutz should have held on to Cardinal and we wouldn't be in this situation in the first place, which I disagree with. Well,
Jake, to Justin's point, I think the way that it was constructed under Bradley was in a one-off. It's like the pitcher that comes up from Louisville or Arkansas and goes and hangs out downtown, and he comes through the first time through the league and he'll give you 5+. He might leave a guy on base, give up an earned run or two, and you don't have a book on him. Then the second time through the league, everybody's like, oh, okay, I know what this kid's going to do when he's up, he's got a 2-1 count. I know he's going to go dead red on me, and he gets peppered, and then it's how you adjust from there. It was like in one-offs under Carnell, St. Louis City was fine because you were trying to figure them out. But then you get them into a series and they get found out, and then you get bounced. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. I think it's a fair assessment. And I want to expand a little bit on Justin's point too. I agree. I think we were much quicker to the trigger on Olaf, but I think that was the right decision. I think we could have been, from a sporting perspective, more patient with Carnell, but culturally there was not a fit in the locker room anymore. You saw we shifted out a ton of players in the wake of that just weren't for the club anymore. So, from a sporting perspective, you can see what he's doing in Philadelphia. It's great. I think they have a good setup for him there. Like, he's got guys like Indiana Vassilev, for example, was a player that was here with Carnell. One of Carnell's guys wanted to leave, put in that transfer request at the beginning of the season, wanted to go to Philadelphia and follow him. So clearly he's got something about him, but I do think he was found out very quickly in the summer of 2023. And so you saw us kind of fester in the back half of the season, and you saw us obviously get bounced in the first round by our rivals in Sporting Kansas City. So we enter season 2, I think, saying, hey, that wasn't great that end of the year, but the beginning was so great. Let's just see how long this can go. And I saw us being a little more patient probably with him, but with what was going on, and there was really no signs of coming out of this tailspin, and having a trusted set of hands like John Hackworth in the organization to kind of help steady us, who knows the players intimately and who's capable of coaching at that level. I think it gave them clarity to be able to move on. And Lutz probably, had a big, heavy hand in that. But then you trust him to go find the new manager, and he finds someone I'd say even worse of a fit in Olaf Melberg, and someone, again, I think we're establishing ourselves right now, or at least we've said to the world, we're a sporting director kind of first club. Like Lutz had power here. I mean, everything that you see, the decisions you see, they have his fingerprints. I feel like we were a sporting director first type of club where he got to play a role in all these key decisions, and as they should, right? But the coaches that were brought in, you can tell the two that we've brought in, and hired, were both very, very, ill or underexperienced when it comes to first team management. Not that they weren't good fits for us at the time, but I see us, John, now in the wake of this, kind of learning and licking our wounds and saying, maybe we need to have experience in both roles, because Lutz is more of a first-time sporting director, specifically sporting director. He's had similar roles. And then our coaches were both, not first-time, but, again, not very experienced in this realm, especially in American soccer when you think about Olaf Melberg.
Okay, so then, Jake, and let me ask this. Why, considering what we know about the twos in MLS Next Pro, blowing doors off the Western Conference, the only guy that I saw regularly, and it wasn't regularly enough, obviously, because of you're limited in what you can do with your up downs, is Mackay Joyner. And why was there not more of a presence of the twos players if things were tail spinning out? Why was there not any more MLS Next Pro-ness, for lack of a better noun, to help things out if you had the situation that you were? Where were the twos in all of this discussion?
So I would say on this, go ahead, Jake.
I'll just start it off here, Justin, too. I think we had one of our buddies on the show who's a great data analyst, John, and talked about how poorly we've used supplemental roster and not being able to, actually use pieces of depth like young players and bring them up. Like Mackay Joyner just got on our supplemental roster. Otherwise, he was an off-roster, homegrown talent that we all want to see more of. Like Justin and I have the luxury of where our seats are in the stadium, being on that wing and watching him dance and see the potential and the raw talent that he has. And the reluctance of Olaf Melberg to both play them, but also the construction of the roster to not enable us to sign these players and give them minutes more meaningfully outside of the couple of appearances they can make with the MLS Next Pro rules back and forth. It was frustrating, right? Because not only are the veterans underperforming, but we have some good players in City 2 that were able to come up and make a difference, and we weren't able to see enough of them. Sorry, Justin, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the same thing, Jake. I think if you mentioned this, John, already looking at it. So Mackay Joyner's stats for City 2, he has only played just over 1,000 minutes, has 14 goals. So it's insane. The man is scoring literally a goal per game. And I will say some of this, John, that we've mentioned, and we've kind of talked about it on our own side podcast, but it is interesting on the fact of who are we going to sign next in this thing for Lutz? And did Lutz fully understand the way that the MLS could work? Because there's a lot of monopoly money. It's a lot of weird rules here or there. And it's like, when can you sign guys? When can you not? We're throwing guys in games for the last 5 minutes, which wastes one of their, 3 chances that you get to play without signing a contract that's here. So I think that is a tough part on it. And yeah, we finally look like we're pulling at Mackay Joyner. And I don't know if that's all under Lutz. Is that Olaf coming in and saying, this is my first team? Why would I go digging for a diamond in the rough on the City 2? It's a lot of questions that I think still need to be answered. It seems like we're starting to pull these guys up a little bit more. And then lastly, I just wanted to make one more comment on the Cardinal thing because I want to back it before I get too fired up from people from us. Just a reminder, Cardinal's last 10 regular season games last year, he had 11 points out of a possible 30. And then we went and lost both of our games in the playoff as well. So yes, we won the Western Conference. It's because we did so well. We won our first 5 games, first time ever for an expansion club to do that. We did so well. We won the Western Conference because of the start of the season we had. So if you want to bring in the last third of the season and to where he got fired in the next season, that is where Cardinal got fired. And that is absolutely reasonable at that point.
Okay, Justin, any intel on who the next sporting director, Grand Exalted Poobah, is going to be yet?
So, no, I would say right now, they have to be doing a ton of work. In my opinion, and Jake and I have mentioned this, it needs to be someone that has been in and around the MLS for a long time. I don't think we need to be going overseas. And I'm not saying that because people are like, oh yeah, I'm tired of this Bundesliga 2 stuff. Hand up, you got to remember, that's where we got Roman Berkey, Edu Leuven, Hartel, Toy Shirt. It has worked, but I do think that we need someone that fully understands it. So right now, possible suitors, unsure, because also Jake mentioned on our podcast that apparently we have not interviewed anyone for a head coach position right now as well. So I think both of those are still to come. But to my point on that, I also don't expect us to be interviewing at this point in the season because, one, what are you going to do? Sign a guy with 5 games left and say, go out there and do your best? What's the point in trying to rush that? Also, we probably were waiting to see how the dust settles over in Europe as they're kicking off their season. So a little bit of time, but no specific suitors that I have, Jake, unless you have some.
No, but I echo Justin's point, John. I think, and I've said a little bit of it so far, I think we'll look for experience, whether that is someone that has done that role significantly, overseas. I would prefer someone with experience here in MLS, and that doesn't have to be sporting director experience, or someone that with GM type roles or scouting type roles, like someone that is one of those next in line at a good club. I think of like an LAFC, for example. I think it was Neil McGuinness that I mentioned on the show that I heard mentioned on Soccer Wise with our friends there. But there are plenty of great candidates here domestically that are chomping at the bit for an opportunity that might be in the line with a sporting director or a CSO that's just not ready to leave and won't leave for a while. So I think we could benefit from some MLS know-how in the organization, and that comes at both the sporting director and potentially head coach level. I know everyone wants to talk about Jim Curtin as well. There's even been some talking about Vermees. I don't think we should be the club that's handing that reign of responsibility right over to someone to do both, because I think we have enough work in both of those roles separately right now. I know it's possible to do both, but there is just, either one, and it's going to have to come in order too. Like sporting director becomes number one priority. Got to get that person in first. Then the head coach comes. Do we keep the same vision? Do we pivot? So there's so many big, bolder questions to answer and decisions to be made. And I do think we're going to hand those off to someone that has experience managing that in this soccer landscape, hopefully.
All right, Jake, hit the preview for me. All Caps is taking on Houston at the Pink Park on the weekend. What kind of a match are you expecting?
It's gonna be one. I think as we previewed, John, a little bit earlier this week. Houston hasn't had a blow the brakes off type of season either, sitting 12th in the West on 29 points. For us, it's a home match. We did so well at home in 2023 with 17 wins. We haven't been able to replicate that form these last 2 seasons, but we've obviously been better at home and on away, and that's not easy when you've won 2 away games these last 2 seasons. But I will say, there is still something special about Energizer Park. It may not be as full as it used to be. The fans not, maybe a little bit fed up with what's gone on this season, but we still will make this a very hostile environment for Houston walking into. And again, you look at the opponent, it's hard for us to say that anyone is performing poorly in certain categories when we just take a look in the mirror and we're probably right next to them and most of those statistics. But I will say, John, we've been able to score recently. We've had the attacking boots, we've had the shooting boots, we've been clinical in moments, but we can't finish games. So we can score, but we can't finish games. And so I think Houston is an opportunity to take someone on the ropes, been a bottom 5 team the last 10 games. So can you continue that form for them? Can you, capsize them in the first 15, get a goal past them and try to, pile on, add insurance, because God knows we can't hold the lead. So I'm expecting a competitive fixture here because there is some good talent in Houston. But I do think ultimately, and this is the bias creeping in here, we're sitting wooden spoon contenders. I think we should be able to handle them.
All right, Justin, since Jake did the preview, hit the promo for me about the ball watching in St. Louis. Where do folks need to go and what do they need to do?
Yeah, go to X, go to Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, you name it. You can go ball watching STL, and you can find us. We are promoting and dropping our podcast on Apple, Spotify, anywhere that you get your podcasts. Go out there. We have some pretty good content. Obviously, we're not just covering City, I will say. Covering college soccer. St. Louis University has had a nice win over SMU, number 5 in the nation. The women's team just knocked off Mizzou as well. We're covering St. Louis soccer as a whole, and then we're going to be covering the World Cup as it comes in as well. So if you're interested in one, like what you hear, go find us at Ball Watching STL.
Yep, and since you mentioned the C word, we're going to be doing college soccer. We're hitting it pretty hard here as well, and so we may duck in and find out what's going on there in your part of the world. Jake and Justin, they are the ball watching. It is officially a noun. Gentlemen, it's great to see you. Great to catch up, and obviously, we'll be ducking our head in the door. Thanks for batting lead off with us here on Thursday on the show. We'll go get your coffee and that real world thing. I guess you have to pay attention.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
See you, John.
Good. All right. Be good, guys. That is Jake and Justin over at the Ball Watching. And so Ball Watching STL. All right. We're going to go to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground now. Maddie's going to join in. And I guess the next question for Maddie is, how long do we have you?
Ooh, maybe like 15 minutes.
Okay, sure. If you got a jet, you got a jet. I mean, obviously, it's since you're kind of busy after a busy night at the Fraction, I guess we'll start there. And oh wait, what's in the hand? What's in the hand?
I made my coffee this morning, hot coffee, very easy. Because I feel like I'm feeling fall, and so that's why I wanted to do it. So
okay, all right. We'll start with the twos and the action at the Fraction last night. And it was an evening that Atlanta United 2 they had to have. They had to have 4 different goal scorers taking out Messi and friends too. Now that you've had the sum total of 9.5 hours to think about it, what sticks in your mind from last night?
Oof. Yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely you needed to bounce back after that loss against Orlando City B. You needed that result, and you got it. And I think you came out full swinging. It was really interesting the way that you had Messi and friends too playing in the way. You had Toto Majoub, who got yellow card accumulation. He was out of the matchup, so he had Javier Armas stepping up in as almost a center back, and we noticed it a couple of times. Like Javi was just like with the ball at his feet, like, and no one was pressing him. And it was the most bizarre thing ever. I don't know what was happening, but and it got to a point where even Javi's like, what do I do with the ball at my feet now? Like, they're not pressing me. Like, what's happening? And but yeah, it was bizarre, but it allowed for a lot of balls over the top for Atlanta, and I mean they were able to come out on top with a lot of those, and I think they were the dominant performance, and they let it through. Obviously, you let the goal in, you don't get to keep the clean sheet, but you do respond very well to giving up that goal to get another one as well. And I think what impressed me was the fight that the two showed last night, and the resilience, and yeah, they got to do it all again on Saturday against Huntsville.
Yeah, and so of course, when I'm not there, they score all of the goals. I'm truly worried. When you guys are in Nashville on the weekend and I'm there at the Fraction for the matchup against Hunt City, I'm hoping that they didn't use up all of the goals, that they saved some for this big matchup that they need. When you look at the starting 11 and what you saw, I mean, obviously, we got the highlights there. Let me go to Ignacio Suarez and what we saw from him. Here was someone scores his first goal, and he didn't know how to celebrate. He's like, what do I do? Who's here to hug? Where am I going? What do I do here? Great moment for Iggy last night.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was really funny when you see the open pass, because it's Moises who creates the whole thing. And I mean, it's brilliant from Moises to Blante. He's able to drive in and he picks out Iggy Suarez. You had Patrick Weah on the back, a worst case scenario if the rebound happened, but it was such a great ball inside that you didn't even need it, because Iggy was able to slot it home. It was a good goal. It was really fun too, seeing his reaction afterwards. Definitely did not know what to do, but it was very clear. You could hear his smile, like, from all the way up, like up at the top of the press box. Hear it, see it, all the above. It was awesome. It was cool.
Yeah, and you once again have someone else independently step up. We have the discussions as we cover the twos, and you and Jason do training ground dispatches and box to boxes, where we do have those names that we traditionally gravitate toward. But then you have those moments where you have an Ignacio Suarez step in. You have the younger academy players step in as a part of the collective, and I think that's fun to see them step in, not be intimidated by what's going on around them, and just hopping right in and taking care of business.
Yeah, it's something that Jose Silva said after the match as well to us in the media. He said, in that other matchup against Fort Lauderdale when they were back there earlier this year, that was that 2-1 loss as well. Ignacio Suarez was someone that stepped up in that role, and they wanted him to come in and get a spark, but it was almost like Jose had talked about to us, too. It's like, everyone was acting like a superhero. They wanted to be someone who would come in and save the day. And that's kind of what had happened in that moment. And so it was like, okay, the guys you need to come back into this one. You got to prove that, like, you can do this and that, you have confidence. And Iggy was able to come in and easily come on in and completely prove the confidence and the swagger that he has on the ball. And it gives him confidence as well. So it's really awesome. I love it.
Notes on Cooper Sanchez and John O'Ransom getting nods to national team duties as their roles continue to grow within Atlanta United. When you've seen Cooper Sanchez, for someone who hasn't had the chance to either listen to us, watch on however they're accessing it in a video form, or be there in person, your thoughts on Cooper Sanchez and his growth this season?
Yeah, Cooper Sanchez has been fun to watch. I think what I really like about Cooper is, he's really young, but he doesn't show it. He's very much like, I'm going to run at you with everything I have, and I'm going to be relentless, and I'm going to try to win the ball back. And I love that. I like the flair, and I like the energy from it, too. It shows a balance of, what you need to have in the field, but he's also just so calm with the ball, and he's really, really good at, I think, getting things going forward, breaking those lines, and keeping things going for Atlanta. I really enjoyed watching Cooper Sanchez. I mean, there's a reason why you sped up his homegrown deal. I mean, that's the future right there. Like, seriously, like, he's going to be someone to watch for, especially continuing on in what he's going to do, especially, catching up with him maybe next week after, his time with the national team. But like, that's it's going to be a really, really fun season for Cooper to finish out this one. But I'm looking forward to seeing, where the possibilities are for him, especially moving up and getting those opportunities maybe with the first team.
And also his new tag team partner in the midfield, Didi Cibrian. And Didi has stepped up the last couple of matches as well. And for folks that haven't been watching the academy, Didi Cibrian steps in and he is just rolled right in. And he's fitting into that midfield really well on short notice these last couple of matches.
Oh, yeah. I have been really impressed with Didi Cibrian. I mean, I called a lot of his matches Ignacio as well for Academy. And I remember one thing that I always pointed out whenever I saw the lineup, I would never have to say Cibrian too much, but that's always a good thing, that I don't have to say his name too much. He's that classic number 6. He's someone that can go in and just be fine staying back and helping defend balls, get things going forward as well. What I've really loved in that matchup last night was he really was able to like get up into the attack a lot more, was able to go up and create some things, not being afraid of that moment. That's with confidence, and that comes with comfortability as well now. But that was a lot of fun, getting to watch him maybe go forward and step up a little bit, maybe, take that extra shot there up top. No, Didi Cibrian has been really fun. I've enjoyed that pairing, him and Cooper Sanchez. They obviously know each other well, academy, everything like that, so that helps too. But I mean, that pairing is one that I didn't expect to come out of 2025, but I'm glad it's here.
Maddie Cruz with her homebrew is getting ready to go watch first team practice, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground, as Atlanta United's prepping for Nashville. And when Maddie has to go, she has to go. So we are hanging on to her as long as we can. But then when she has to jet, she's just going to open the car door and do an Irish goodbye and not let us know when it's going to happen. Leo Alfonso gets some minutes. He gets another start for the Twos last night as he's trying to integrate and get minutes and get into the swing of things, gets the goal early on to get things moving. I know it's a short sample size. They had Leo on the left against Crown Legacy, if I remember correctly, and he was up top again last night. Early returns on Leo Alfonso integrating.
I really loved Leo Alfonso last night. He stepped up big in those moments. I mean, you got the goal as well, that gets that start for Atlanta United too, and then he gets the goal. I mean, it was great. It's like Abby said too. You got to score against your former team as well. That's always a little bit of yeah, that's a fun little chip on your shoulder a little bit. That's awesome. And it was a great finish too. It was a great ball from Santi Pita too to find him and was able to then connect it. I mean, Alfonso has been really good. I really like him up top playing that striker. I liked him there, and what he gave you too, his relentlessness too, to go back in and try to defend. He won a couple of those turnovers to flip things and flip the field. Alfonso also had a great showing. I feel like everyone on the Twos last night had a great showing. I don't think there's one person I can say that did not have a good one. I mean, Santi Pita is one that I've really enjoyed watching. He's incredible. I mean, my God, he's like, some of the stuff that he does, I don't think like it's like real. Like I sit there and I'm like, wait, huh? I'm like, did I just see that? Well, and that was also shocking. And then you also had, the shocking turn of events, that where the referee just, had the ball run into him a couple times, wanted to be a field player, I guess.
The drop balls that weren't, I guess, if you were trying to put it into book form, the story form would be the drop balls that weren't. It's like,
I swear, John, I was so flabbergasted the second time it happened. I actually had to turn to Jason and be like, did that happen? Am I stupid? Like, am I dumb? I was like, did that just? I was like,
but didn't it happen? But didn't it happen 3 times?
No, he avoided the third time. He almost got it the third time. I made the joke about it too. I was like, and he moved out of the way this time. That was funny. That was funny.
You're there at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, getting ready for Atlanta United taking on Nashville. As you sit there and you look out your window, see, this is when I know that time is getting short because you're kind of keeping an eye on everybody else. You're waiting. It's like, when's my cue? So let me ask about the match that was with Toronto, since we haven't had you kind of break things down from your perspective, catching up with Ronnie after the match, and then we had to get ready for Unified, and I'll give you a Unified thought before we get out of here. But thoughts out of Toronto leading into Nashville for the first team?
Yeah, I mean, that matchup, I think you needed to see more from the team. You had to see someone find the back of the net. It felt like at times it didn't quite connect in those moments, and you have to start picking up points. You got to find something, especially against a really tough opponent in Nashville. You're going on the road. You're facing them. That's also it lends itself to a little bit of a rival moment as well. In that area too. But I mean, you got to find something in Nashville. That's the biggest thing. You got to find something. You got to be able to capitalize, and you have to. And you got to see a performance. You got to see players getting into those attacking spots, finding the back of the net, and being threatening, being dangerous. I don't think we saw that against Toronto, and that's something that I want to see going into Nashville as well. We need to see those players step up and get into the attack too. I thought Luke Brennan had a couple of really good moments too. I think he's been a bright spot in those moments. You also saw a different attacking up top. You know, you saw Luke on the left, Miguel Almiron up top, and then you saw Saba Lobjanidze on the right. That was a different one. I didn't mind it either. Like that was something too. I thought it flowed really well the first 30 minutes, and then it's kind of like what we said. You know, it kind of like plateaued a little bit. And so I think it's, you know, you keep that intensity, keep that same aggression going to Nashville, and you'll find something too. And I'll go ahead and give you my thought on Unified because I do have to leave after this thought. So I'll go ahead and give you my thought on Unified.
Go for it.
But no, Unified, another great performance as well. You finished out the season strong, another undefeated season. That's huge. It was really cool. It was seeing the Xavier Hairston video as well. Him not knowing he's the leading goal scorer as well, and then he added on another goal that evening. That was really, really cool. It was a really solid performance. I thought the team really connected. It was a full field as well. Toronto also, to their credit too, defensively they were on top of it every single chance they got. I mean, their goalkeeper Williams was incredible. Was finding those moments. Was not afraid to get in those pockets. He was deadly up there. He was helping out, trying to hold things down for Toronto. D. Harden as well, I thought also was really great in between the post. No, it was a really, really fun matchup. And, you know, it was a well-deserved 3 points for the Unified team. And what a way to end the 2025 season. But yeah,
Absolutely.
So that's my thought. Jason just pulled up Jason just pulled up. So that is my cue, guys.
All right, so Maddie's out the door, and she's going to go to practice at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, and there she goes. All right, so there goes Maddie. Maddie and Jason are going to be at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. Keep an eye out for all of the reports and the stuff there as Atlanta United gets ready for Nashville. And there's been some stuff that has popped up out of Nashville. And it's like there was yesterday, I want to say there were fires in the area of Geodis. And I don't know what the background of it is, but apparently there were some fires in the area of Geodis, and it might have actually been at Geodis. And so it's stuff that's kind of floating around. Don't know the causes and don't know really any of the in-depth details on it. Like I said, it was just something that kind of came across in the timeline. So it was intriguing. But yeah, that's the next marker. Tomorrow, we're going to have Lucas Panzica, 104.5 The Zone up in Nashville. One of the voices of Nashville SC. He's going to be joining us batting leadoff tomorrow. And a little birdie told me that our MLS guest at 10 may have some thoughts on this particular matchup as well. And we will get that individual's thoughts about the matchup and everything else going on around Major League Soccer. We'll talk Atlanta United. We'll talk Nashville. We'll talk the league in general, maybe a little Leagues Cup. Coming out of what happened yesterday going into tomorrow. But our MLS guest at 10 o'clock, rumor has it, this individual will have ties to the matchup coming up with Atlanta United and Nashville SC coming up on the weekend. All right, let me say hi to everybody, and we'll do gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, before we get into the Power Hour coming up at 10 o'clock. GOLTV's Nino Torres joining us at 10 from Lima, Peru, and we're going to go over Portugal. There were some things we left on the table last week. We left Benfica on the table last week. We left Peru on the table last week. We'll get into that with Nino at 10 o'clock. And the last half hour of the show, as you might have seen on the 280 character app, our buddy Niko Moreno is already getting gassed up. He's probably going to be on his second cup of coffee for the last half hour of the show as we look at Leagues Cup After Dark, the Leagues Cup semis, the Leagues Cup final, and everything else going on in Major League Soccer. We'll be spending some time about Seattle specifically since they were the late night, but we'll get into all of that coming up in hour number 2. Okay. Let's say hi to everybody and lay all of that out for us this morning. I know that Abby is here, and Abby was at the match last night at the Fraction, as was apparently Catalucci. So glad that Catalucci got to go and see what was going on at the Fraction last night. Morning, Lokeville, and morning, Abby. Yes, this morning it is. We are busting out the Arkansas-produced Marshall Islands gear. So this is what we're producing this morning. Figured it was appropriate being on the road. Just to give you a heads up, we are getting the second round of the scarves produced with our new logo. And that reminds me, I have to reinstate our logo here. And there we go. After I got rid of the QR code, I forgot to put our logo back in. So we are getting the logo, we're getting the new logo put on scarves for the Marshall Islands project, because right now the scarves on the first order, round number 1, version 1.0, have the old cursive DH. So we had a logo change. And so now that we are in the second round of producing scarves, which is always good because net proceeds go to helping out the Federation, we've got to have the new logo on. And so that's where we are. So we're going to have the new logo on them. And you can go to the Marshall Islands Federation store, get all the jerseys, get all the stuff, get the bucket hat, the pin, all of that. We are reissuing the scarf with the new logo. So that's just as a heads up. And that'll be coming up in a little bit. And right now we're in the pre-order stage, and I've got a list coming to me of, I know, 30, I think, that I have to go out pretty quickly. So that's what's going on with the Marshall Islands. Also on the board, remember, with all of the other stuff that we have, go to soccerdownhere.net. You can go to the store there. You can get all the SDH gear with the new logo, all of that, all of those things. You can get all your SDH-ness, plus the Attack on the Ruckus stuff that Jason has kind of retrified and put there at the store. Also, don't forget, go to Olive in New York, get the SDH jersey. Thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente. It's a part of our Soccer for Good program here in 2025. Kaiser across the front. You can personalize it. The navy jersey with the floppy collar, very, very 80s. You can do personalization either in white letters and numerals or in the Columbia blue, Tar Heel blue, double blue, whatever you want to call it, the lighter blue. You can personalize your jersey there in either one of those. Check with Alex and Abby and figure out which one might work for you. Also, Grady Baby Co. You can go to Grady Baby, get the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta sweats and tees, red and black. I have to wear the red one at the house for obvious reasons. For those of you that know about the boss and her allegiance to the other university in the state of Alabama, she's an alumna. She doesn't like to wear red. Red has been banned from the house. She doesn't wear it. I wear the red. Gold embossed Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta. You can get red or black t-shirt, sweatshirt, Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. Net proceeds there help out Soccer for Good in 25. Also helps out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta public school system. Also, you can become a Fanatico for $10 a year. What do you do for $10 a year? Well, what you can do for $10 a year is that you can be a part of our Soccer for Good campaign through the Chant app. I mean, since I don't have as many lights on here in the studio, we can do it this way. For those of you watching on the video side of things, you can be a Fanatico. You can be engaged in conversations with other Fanaticos as well. $10 a year, you help out Soccer for Good this way. We've got a lot of partners, a lot of the different breweries in the area, couple of different wild cards like Tires Plus in Alpharetta, Lloyd's Soccer Shop in Alpharetta, and also Chateau Arenal in Costa Rica. You get a discount code if you want to go to Costa Rica, maybe watch some soccer or just watch afternoon rainstorms. You can go to Chateau Arenal. You get a discount code if you're a Fanatico and you want to dive down into Costa Rica and spend some time down there. There's a Keys to Flavor Catering also is in there from Sugar Hill. You get a discount as a Fanatico on your first order there as well. So that's a part of it. So be a Fanatico. $10 a year helps you out and helps them out as well. Also, Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. What you can do with Fanatis is add to all of your true craziness and all of the different places around the planet that you watch sports. You can add what's going on with our friends at Fanatis. It is GOLTV, which is how we came across our friend Nino Torres. It is in 2 languages, English and Spanish. You've got all the BNs, and right now BN is in AFCON watching, and so all of the AFCON is going on in the African Championships. That's going on right now. You can watch all of that. You have all the BNs. You get the Polish League, the Turkish League, the French League. You've got, let's see, who else am I missing? It is also they've tapped into Tigo Sports and Canal 4 and CATV. You can watch TIC, Nuestra Tele, CDO for the fans, Liga 1 Max Pro. You can watch LGP in Argentina. You can watch Luis Abram at Sporting Cristal. You can watch a lot of folks that you sat there and you went, hey, I remember that guy. You can add that to your stacks. They've also added TVV as well. So there's a lot of stuff you can get at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out, helps us out, and it's all a part of the process of adding to the craziness of all of the leagues around the world that we get to watch on a daily basis. So you've got that as well that you can be a part of the growing community that is a part of Fanatis and streaming services there. So let me see. Did I miss anybody? I'm trying to think. Let's see. So it's Olive and York for the jersey, SDH for the gear, Fanatis for the streaming, and let's see, the Chant app for being a Fanatico. I think that's everybody. If I've missed it, I'll probably remember it again tomorrow. Okay. All right. Before we get into hour number 2, let's get into the gossip, rumor, and innuendo and the reports that we have coming out this morning. Because remember, transfer window in Europe and in England specifically ends on Monday. Big Ben chimes late in the afternoon, our time, on Labor Day, and that's it for the transfer window. So what we always do as our starting point is catch up with our buddy Ben Jacobs, who is fast and furious when it comes to the 280-character app. Understand Newcastle winger Trevin Sanusi is likely to go out on loan. Le Havre and Auxerre are interested. Also, Maggie Murphy has been confirmed as the new managing director for Aston Villa's women's team, follows the restructuring of the women's team as an independent entity under Villa's parent company, V Sports. And this goes into the whole MCO bit where you're selling things to yourself and trying to figure out ways to get under PSR and profit and sustainability rules. And so you have your parent company now own your women's team and you sell it to yourself. So Maggie Murphy's now managing director at Aston Villa Women's. Spurs are advancing with Xavi Simone. He is in London trying to clarify his future. Simone has been given priority to Chelsea all summer after agreeing to terms, but the clubs are yet to agree to a fee, also open to Spurs. Leipzig authorized the travel to London, knowing Simone's wants a move to the Premier League. The asking price is 65 million euro and then some. Chelsea's going to get an award for winning every UEFA domestic trophy following their win in Conference League. Alexander Sefrin's going to hand it out to them before the Champions League draw. That phase takes place today. 6 English clubs in it. Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea in pot 1. Arsenal's in pot 2. Spurs are in pot 3. Newcastle is in pot 4. The teams will get 8 fixtures, 2 from each pot, and you can't face a team from the same country in this opening phase. So pot 1, PSG, Real Madrid, Man City, Bayern, Liverpool, Inter, Chelsea, Dortmund, and Barcelona. There'll be a test on this later on. Pot 2, Arsenal, Leverkusen, Atletico, Benfica, Atalanta, Villarreal, Juve, Frankfurt, and Club Brugge. Pot 3, Spurs, PSV, Ajax, Napoli, Sporting, Olympiacos, Slavia Prague, Bodo Glimt, and Marseille. Pot 4, Copenhagen, Monaco, Galatasaray, Union Saint-Gilloise, Karabag, Athletic Bilbao, Newcastle, Paphos, and FC Kairat from their win over Celtic earlier this week. So Kairat is in pot number 4. Bayern remain in talks for Nico Jackson, with the Chelsea striker open to the move. Chelsea have 4 other clubs in active discussions, according to Jacobs. Expectation is still that Jackson leaves before the window shifts. Andrea Pinamonti's future is one to watch in the final days of the window. Sassuolo would prefer to keep him, who was discussed by Milan earlier in the window and is on the radar of Werder Bremen. Several European clubs are still considering a late window approach. Newcastle have yet to place a third bid for Jurgen Strand Larsen at Wolves. As revealed by Alex Crook at Talk Sport, The Wolves board don't plan on sanctioning a sale. The stance is unlikely to change between now and deadline day, although it has now been reported in some places that Jørgen Strand-Larsen wants to go, and he's cool with going to Newcastle. Keep an eye on that. Wolves talks for Tola Arokadare, not limited to the future of Jørgen Strand-Larsen. The Wolves hold an interest in the Genk striker, likely to be available for close to £20 million. It is once again not linked to Strand-Larsen. The Wolves are just looking for a second striker. As it stands, any Hwang Hee-chan exit is also being blocked. So they let Fabio Silva go, and they're hanging on to Strand-Larsen. They don't want him to go. Strand-Larsen is okay to leave. He wants to leave. And now they're bringing in, it looks like they're bringing in Arokadare from Genk, and they don't want to let go of Hwang Hee-chan. So that's Wolves trying to hang on to what they have. Jakub Kivior waiting to fly to Porto, having agreed to terms. Arsenal is going to sanction his exit if they reach an agreement for Piero Hincapié. Arsenal are pushing to agree to a fee before the weekend, likely on a loan with an obligation to buy. Leverkusen sporting director Simon Rolfs says today, club has received no formal offer. Arsenal have been discussing a package of around €50 million. Keep an eye on the next 24 to 48 hours as that is laid out. So Garnacho expected to have the deal finalized with Chelsea following the €42 million sale of Nkunku to Milan. An agreement is close with Manchester United. We mentioned Xavi Simons. Nkunku, it's $42 million, with Milan reaching the agreement with Chelsea on Nkunku. Fabrizio Romano has called it €42 million fee, sell-on clause expected to have a 5-year deal. And so that way it's spread out across the body of the contract. So 5 by 42, 8.4. So that's the hit every year is 8.4. Early this morning, a fee had been agreed by West Ham and Saints for Mateus Fernandes, £38 million plus 3. And that came out at Talk Sport. Alex Crook was in the front of that one. Once again, Arsenal are hoping to strike an agreement for Piero Hincapié before the weekend for under the €60 million release clause. Hincapié's pushing to leave for a package closer to 50. Arsenal's exploring different formulas. Loan with an obligation is the preference, but an outright purchase not discounted if the price drops. We mentioned Jakub Kivior to Porto, ready to be approved if Hincapié joins. Myron Boadu is in talks with PSV. Ajax also keen on the Monaco striker if Brian Brobby, say that 10 times fast, Brian Brobby departs. Paris FC's offer for Issa Kabor is a loan with a buy option, as Luca Bendoni was first to call. Move made in the last 48 hours. Leicester and Ipswich are still there. Nottingham Forest progressing with a move for Leicester left-back Victor Christensen. He's keen to move back to the Premier League and in doing so boost his chances of World Cup selection. So that's the early go-round on all of the moves there. Let's do what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Remember, you've got a lot of the college game going on today. You have the Paramount, on Paramount Plus at noon is the Champions League draw. And we already went over all of the things that could happen with the 4 pots, where you can go, where you can't go, who's in the pot with you, and where it all lays out. College soccer, the metric ton. Okay, here we go. And a lot of it is on the Plus and on your favorite streaming service. So we'll try and hit some of the highlights. You've got a lot of stuff on ACC Network. Oral Roberts and Wake Forest is at 5:30. A lot of action on the Plus. I'm seeing America East. I'm seeing Mercer and Memphis at 6. You have a lot of the activity in the Northeast. You've got Division II, Presbyterian playing up to play Stetson, NC Greensboro, South Florida. So the SoCon and the American are going at it in your early rounds as well. Georgia Southern's taking on Wofford at 7 o'clock on the Plus. Gulf Coast is on. Army and Marist is on at 7. You've got Ohio State and Oakland on B1G Plus. Virginia, George Mason on ESPN Plus. Evansville and North Carolina's on ACC Extra. 8 o'clock, you start to drift out into the Midwest, where it's Drake and Marquette. Gonzaga's playing Tampa and Missouri State. Oregon State and Notre Dame, 8:30 Eastern on ACC Network. Later, it is on the streaming services. You've got the West Coast teams, West Coast Conference. You have what's left of the old Pac-12, Mountain West. They're all going on. UCLA, Cal State, Fullerton is at 10. Washington and Davis is at 10:30, along with Stanford and Santa Clara. On the women's side, there's a lot. There's a lot of women's action. So go and find your favorite club. They're going to probably be playing, and I'll try and figure out some of the highlights really quickly. And actually, it kicks off at 1 o'clock this afternoon on the Plus, whether it's B1G Plus or ESPN Plus. Syracuse is at 2:30. You have America East. You've got the SoCon. You've got the ACC. UNC Greensboro, North Carolina is on the ACC net or on ACC Extra at 4 o'clock. Illinois and DePaul is at 4 on the women's side. You've got William and Mary and James Madison. So you have, once again, you've got the Colonial and what's left of the Colonial going on 6 o'clock. Michigan and Notre Dame is at 6 o'clock on the women's side, ACC Extra. North Florida and Georgia is at 6:30 on SEC Plus. You have, trying to hit the highlights here, Duke and Arkansas, 7 o'clock on SEC Plus. You have UCF and Florida at 7 o'clock on SEC Plus. South Carolina, Clemson, women, 7 o'clock ACC Extra. Charlotte and Virginia is at 7 o'clock on ACC Extra. A lot of activity, and I'm trying to see, you got a couple on Flow that are Campbell and High Point and Hofstra and FDU. So what used to be the ASUN is on Flow if you subscribe to that. Michigan State is on at 7:30 on B1G Plus. South Florida, Wake Forest, ACC Extra. SMU, Texas Tech on the Plus. Troy, North Alabama. Wisconsin, LSU at 8. Iowa is on at 8. Northwestern is on at 8. Florida State and Kansas is on at 8 on ESPN Plus, along with Missouri and Memphis at 8:30. And heading out west, USC and Portland is at 10. Washington and Seattle is at 10. Washington State and Idaho is at 10. And that carries you through. So there is the metric crap ton of everything going on. Wow. A lot of stuff going on in the metric crap ton of activity for college soccer today. Let's see. Abby, I do need to check off list. That is absolutely true. Abby got a jersey signed by Chris Henderson last night. Very, very cool. Now, a Miami Fusion shirt. And that now you got to get Garth. Absolutely. Morning, Alex. And let's see. Morning, Catalucci. Glad you went to the Twos match last night. Morning, David. Night game. Night game, 7:30, 7 o'clock pregame, 7:33 kick for Huntsville City Football Club and Atlanta United 2 at the Fraction. I will be there. I'll have the call for you on the network, soccerdownhere.net, and at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. So we're having our pregame stuff, pre-match stuff today. We'll get all that in the can. We'll set everything up for you on the weekend and let you know where everything is with that. And Catalucci, not wrong, could have been 5. Yes. And now, yes, everyone's starting to call them Messi and friends in Fort Lauderdale. And that's the way it should be, because they play at the Erector set in Fort Lauderdale. And yes, Santi Pita played well too. There were times where Santi was a marked man because of what he has been able to do the last handful of matches. And so Santi was marked a little bit tighter than usual, but he definitely worked his way through it. And that gave others the chance of figuring out, okay, where's that positional gravity? Who's open? And that's the big thing. Abby wants to know about this particular Marshall Islands shirt. This was produced as a part of the Outrigger Challenge Cup, and it was on site. It was done by a group in Arkansas, and it was available on site. They didn't quite anticipate how many folks would be interested in buying all the gear. So you'll see me wearing the sweatshirt. I picked that up. These T-shirts, they disappeared. So there was, if you go to the website, if you go to the Marshall Islands website, there is a link to the place in Arkansas that printed all of this stuff up. And what I would do is encourage them to reissue it. And that way we can dive back in and help out the Marshall Islands. So that would be my suggestion. Is it's like Be Unlimited or something like that. The outfit in Arkansas that pieced all of this together, they did a limited run. And so I dove on it and got, I think, one of everything and got posters and things like that. So we need to encourage the group in Arkansas that did this gear in and around the Outrigger Challenge Cup to reprint. And I imagine that the demand will be there. But yeah, this was a part of the Arkansas group and their print for the Outrigger Challenge Cup. So morning, Tom. And Tom is already laying into Messi and friends this morning. And you kind of knew, yeah. And I didn't know that it was going to be there on site. And so I had to burn a hole in my credit card to make sure that folks could find it. Okay. So Abby wants the info. So hang on. Let me see if I can, Marshall Islands, hang on. Marshall Soccer Federation. So hang on. All right. So Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Let me see if the website. Okay. So RMI.soccer shop Outrigger Cup merch US only. Okay. So here is the link. It's B-Unlimited. And B-Unlimited is the group that pieced it all together. So you have to go to shop, and you go in the shop, and there it is. B-unlimited.com. And this was a collection that they did for the Outrigger Challenge Cup. So this particular stuff was done by B Unlimited, and it was done for the Outrigger Challenge Cup, and it is US produced only. So literally, they were not shipping overseas or anything like that. So B-unlimited.com was where they did the collection. Like I said, they stopped producing it because the Outrigger Challenge Cup is over. So if we encourage them to continue to have this line open for gear, we can continue to get it. And because God knows I'm going to buy more of it. So there you go. All right. So that's the B Unlimited. That is B-Unlimited. That's the folks that were piecing all of this together. So keep an eye on that, because I'll buy the gear and it will be completely and totally just out of control. And yeah, I'm going to go to the poorhouse, but that's just kind of how it's going to be when it comes to the Marshall Islands. Yesterday in the Gummy Bear Cup 12-11, it was, and Jason got into this a little bit in Morning Espresso. You can go back and listen to that or watch it. 12-11 losing to Grimsby Town. Ruben Amorim not happy about it. The scream that you heard was probably Drew Dickinson. And it was an opportunity for Drew to sit there and wonder what Andre Onana was thinking at any given moment. And so Grimsby Town knocks out Manchester United. They did have the draw for the next round. And so the next round in the Cup, and Grimsby, they really played up the they really played up the fact that they were the fish. And, hey, you just got slapped by a fish. I thought that was pretty funny. They now gained so many followers. They're at like 86,000 followers now on the 280 character app. 12-11 in the final. And so now we know where it is going to be for the next go round. And I'm trying to go back into their timeline and find it. Of course, it's not here in the morning. So where is it? I can't find it. Anyway. Hillsborough next round to face Sheffield Wednesday, round 3 of the all-in, the Gummy Bear Cup for Grimsby Town. Good win for them on the weekend. Okay, we are in hour number 2, and as always, I don't look at the topics. I know that we had 2 carry over from last week because of the long discussion that we had, and it was a serious discussion that we had to have. So we bring in our buddy Nino Torres and find out what's going on in his mind, because with hour number 2, it means that we go fully loaded. Yellow, how you doing?
I'm there. Yes, yellow. Soccer down here, fans. It's a glorious Thursday. Not for my pipes, apparently. But I'm here. I'm ready to roll. And it was just, I sent you the topics, and it was like, Johnny, the link. Johnny, send me the link. I was like, God. So I click on the previous link that you sent me last week. So hey, it worked.
If I ever forget, it's the same thing. It never changes. It's this.
All right.
This is where we are. This is where we are housed. This is us. So and so what I promise, what I will do is I will not make your voice go berserk. We will try to keep control so you can save the pipes for what's going on the weekend. But I know that we had a couple of things on the table from last week. I still haven't looked at your topics, but I still want to get into the topics from last week. Benfica. What the hell is going on at Benfica with the presidential race?
It is insane. Now everybody wants to jump in on the race. Everybody pretty much is trying to attack Rui Costa for all the things that he's done for the club, and of course, all the speeches from the candidates. But one of those candidates is a former president of Benfica, who on national TV in Portugal, he just dropped this this tactics that they used to. No, in Benfica. Yeah, we loan players. We just don't let them play against us, but we loan them players, right? We loan players to several different teams, and if you go back to those years when Vieira was the president, and you notice, I mean, guys, I know Benfica fans, they love me, I love you guys, but you know your presence, all right? You know what your presidents do. So, long story short, they unload you players for Nino Torres' team to Johnny Nelson's team. But when we play against each other, I'm not going to let you use the players that I loan to you. Okay? I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to let you do that. Hey, but I don't have another striker. I don't care. You figure it out. Get your water boy, get somebody from the stands to play in that position, but you're not using that player against me. And on top of that, goalies, goalies can make a case, right, in different games. And when you play against me, I don't know, maybe you you got a strained muscle or you got a cramp or and maybe your form is not as good as it used to. So yeah, that kind of thing happened on national TV in Portugal.
Well, and dude goes on this interview for CNN Portugal, and he basically says it was like over the time that he was president, it was over 400 transactions, and literally it's just like, yeah, we picked him up, yeah, we loaned him out, and literally it was to basically pick a dude up, loan him out, and then flip him for a profit. That was their whole MO this entire time. It's like you grab an asset, you hang on to him, you loan him out, then you flip him, and you end up getting more money. And that was, I guess, part of Benfica's, or this guy, as he was in charge of Benfica, his structured economic model where he treated players like houses in on the street that you buy for cheap and you flip it. It's like flip this player.
Commodities.
Flip this player.
Yeah, this is the commodity version of a player, not because they a player for a certain position, not because they want to out of it. I mean, and it's all right, because in the end, so there's a money, right? But there are ways to make money, the right ways, and then the shade ways. So there you go.
Peru.
No.
If I just say one word, Peru, and tell you go, how would you say here?
Man, Johnny, I missed the previous part. I couldn't hear you.
If I just said Peru, go. What the heck is going on there?
Oh, brother. So you remember that there were two teams that got into the top flight division because of a court order, right? Not from a sports order, but from a court order, right?
Yeah.
So guess what? They lost their appeal. One of them lost their appeal. So the Peruvian Soccer Federation won their case. So they deserve to be in second division, not in the first division. You're out of the competition. In the middle of the year, right? In the middle of the year. Boy, we already played 17 games, 20 games, and now we're not playing anymore? No, you're not. You go back to the second division. Okay. All right. So that's one case. And then the other case is still pending, but most likely they're going to lose their appeal too, right? Most likely they're going to lose their appeal too on court. And before they lose their case, according to the rules in FIFA and the tournaments, they better walk out by themselves before they get disaffiliated from FIFA and not playing any tournament forever and never again. So we went from 19 teams to 17 teams now. Still an uneven number. Still now they're gonna restructure the fixture again because we went to 18 teams. All right, okay, we're fine now. Everybody's gonna play. Nobody's gonna have a bye week. But we're waiting for this other decision. Then when the other team goes, it's this Ayacucho. They're gonna be back to the to an even number of teams and go to do the fixture again, because yeah, that's where we are now in the Peruvian Soccer League, brother. It's just ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
Oh, God. Okay, so since we are talking about Peru and somewhat Portugal, you got Clásicos happening. So what's the Clásicos? What are folks needing to prep for when it comes to Clásicos this week?
Ooh, brother, we have the first big game of the season in Portugal. It is Sporting Lisbon. Ooh, sorry, Jesus, I never said that. Sorry, guys. Hopefully, no Portuguese fan heard me. Sporting Club, Nino. Don't say Sporting Lisbon. Jesus, Lord. Because I was thinking that they're playing in Lisbon, guys. They're playing in Lisbon. You made me do this. Sporting Club versus Porto, playing in Lisbon. All right, I corrected myself. Playing in Lisbon, and they're the two best teams right now. The two best teams in the tournament. Porto is in a renaissance. Porto is in a brutal, has a brutal attacking force. Hopefully, Samuel Moro de Jong gets back in business, but Saturday, hopefully so. If not, they got Luke de Jong, so they'll be fine in that department. But I'm so intrigued to see if this Porto Renaissance is for real, or now they got to face the number one candidate to win this all again. Will make him bring back to earth or not. But we'll see. We'll see about that. Mm-hmm. That's in Portugal, Johnny. In Peru, the Clásico was on Sunday night. Sunday Night Soccer on GOLTV was calling the game. And no goals in the Clásico, but there was an interesting stat in this game. You know how many shots Alianza Lima got against Universitario de Deportes in that game? It's a Clásico.
0.
I gotta remind you that. 0, brother. 0. We shut him down. We completely shut him down, brother. It was fantastic because you know what? There was this controversy about Jorge.
No, there was controversy in Peruvian soccer. No.
Nah, because when we went to Sao Paulo and they played Palmeiras. They didn't lose against Palmeiras. It was a completely different performance than the week before. But he used a different team this time, right? He used a different defense this time. The defense, the names that we've been calling out to use him. Why you don't use this guy? Why are you insisting on this guy? What? Okay, and he was like, all right, I want to do this. So he put this defense with Santa Maria, Inga, Di Benedetto, Polo, and Caraballi. All right, these 5 players are the fastest, Johnny. They are faster than anyone. Okay, it's probably the fastest defense in the tournament, and he, for who knows why, he's not relying on these guys to use him on the weekly basis. He used that on Wednesday and Thursday night, and he used that same defense on Sunday night. Again, what happened, right? 0 shots, no approach from Alianza Lima, anticipation, interception. They were like, it was like watching cornerbacks playing soccer. It was just so dominant, man. It was a dominant display of defensive soccer from Universitario de Deportes against Alianza Lima, who, by the way, they were running the show in the previous games. They got the qualifier to the quarterfinals of the Copa Sudamericana. Everything was rolling in terms of offense. Not that night.
Sticking in Peru, and this is something that, yes, be warm, be hydrated. You have to have the pipes. We need your pipes, man, for the weekend, because we got to find out what you're calling.
Yes, sir.
Where we are now, thankfully, at a point where players can come out and say that they're not okay. And for us as journalists and fans of the sport to recognize that it's okay not to be okay, and to have the bravery to come out and say these kinds of things. This happened in Peru, and a player opened up about it. What happened here?
And it was this player, a very loved player in Peru, Edison Flores, who played in the MLS. Remember, he played for DC United um, for a couple of seasons. And he all this year, right? All this year, his performances went down, right, from last year, right? He went down, and we noticed that he was not the same guy on the pitch, right? A guy that it seemed like it was disconnected, right, from the players. He was not that aggressive people that he used to be, and everybody was wondering, right, what's going on with this guy? What's going on with this guy? Why this guy is playing like that? Why he keeps playing? Why he keeps playing? So he's having serious issues off the pitch with his wife. There was an investigation involved. And also he split with his wife. The wife had the kids, and he was not. And we found out yesterday, in this interview that he provided, that he's not seeing his kids. He's not seeing his kids for I don't know how many months already. And he said this, right? I'm not feeling okay. It hit me. I'm seeing a therapist, and but I'm trying to go back to be my old self, but it's hard. It's hard for me because I'm not the same guy right now. I'm hurt, and I just wanted you guys know that it's not that because I read all the comments, I read social media, and then people is criticizing me, but finally, why I'm not performing the way I used to, because my mind, my heart it's been in a dark place for a while now. So I just want you guys to
What
let you know
has
that.
the response been publicly, whether it's fans, journalists, whatever? Has it been supportive for Edison Flores, or what's
Massive support, massive response from the fans. Lots of heartful, warm messages for him. It's been the response, especially from the fans, right? Especially from the fans, because they've been so critical with him, and everybody's like, "All right, we love you, we understand you, we're here for you," and in the media too, because Johnny, we don't see this in Peru. It's this mental toughness. But it's not toughness. It's not about toughness. It's not about how tough you are. It's about that when you hurt, you got to recognize it, and identify the issue and talk about it. Because if you don't talk about it, you just gonna keep accumulating that inside of you, and it could lead to something that we don't want to see.
Edison Flores, obviously, we send all of our love to him for having the courage to come forward and explain why something is. And I think that there is a certain amount of empathy that's attached when you finally, as someone from the outside, somebody steps up and says, "Look, I'm not 100%. I'm not, things in my life are not right now. And I just want you all to know that." And I think that when we have these athletes come out and say this, I think it's an added level of understanding for fans that want that instant gratification. It's always, "Oh my God, we're great. Oh my God, we stink. This guy's the best player ever. This guy's the worst player ever." And now you get the context added to it where Flores is concerned. It's like, okay, now I understand. And it kind of gives us that dialing back of, okay, we need to be a little more thoughtful when it comes to individuals that we're either covering, loving, or supporting on a daily basis.
Absolutely, and just to make a parallel, a comparison with one of the greatest players that ever played the game, Cristiano Ronaldo, when he lost his baby. when he lost his baby. You can tell that the guy, that was that episode at United. He was not that season. He was not good. He was not there mentally. He was not there. He had to pass a lot of time after he went back to his old self, and now he's still playing at the highest level possible. But that season when he lost his baby, it took a toll. It took a toll on Cristiano.
All right, since you mentioned Manchester United, let's talk about Manchester.
Oh no! I don't want to talk about it, but I have to talk about it.
Apparently, and I didn't know this until yesterday, Manchester United has not beaten Grimsby Town the last 4 times that they have played, dating back to the 1940s. And it's been like in cup competitions and such, but Manchester United has not won in the last 4 meetings against Grimsby Town, dating, I want to say, back to like 1945. So there's your random fact of the day. 12-11 in penalties, and Grimsby Town takes their fish and slaps Manchester United upside the head with it. And there's the photo of Ruben Amorim where he's just kind of looking down at the board going, it's bored. Like, dude, talk to me here. And it's like, talk to me, Goose. And it is just, it is bad scenes right now at Manchester United.
And then the first words that came out of the media was like, is this somebody just saying that this is a sackable offense? And then the question, is this a sackable offense or not? And then should he resign? They're going to fire him. I'm like, I think it is.
But they gave him this. He walked into this house that needs all this repair. He walked into the money pit, and he knew what he was getting into. So if they're not going to exhibit, meaning Manchester United, if the front office and the new ownership isn't going to give him the patience to try to turn this around and probably moneyball his way through it, then, I mean, yes, we all fly close to the sun. We all do that. Manchester United has been flying in orbit for decades, and now they are too close to the sun, and the wax is coming off the wings, and it is.
It is, and I think he's not going to get sacked. I don't think he's going to get sacked. I'm telling you that right now. But I saw the initial performances from United with these new players. You got Mateus Cunha, you got Mbumo, you got what's the other guy's name? I forgot. And their names in there. He's going to work with these guys. All right, he's going to work with these guys. He's going to make this team better. He's going to make this team better. And I'm telling you, by the end of the season, United is going to be in the Champions League spots. I'm not saying that they're going to win it, but the Champions League, I don't think so. But he's going to turn this season around. He is going to turn this season around because he has a roster not to do it. And talking about roster, they sold Garnacho to Chelsea. They sent Garnacho to Chelsea for 45 million. But because he was not lined up with the Amorim philosophy. He was not on the same page. He was not on the same page, and Amorim was like, you're not on my orbit, so you better run around in a different different planet. But what I was going to say about United is it's not just about United, but about the competition. This is the beauty of the League Cups, man. This is the absolute beauty. We've seen this happening to Real Madrid, to Barcelona, to Ajax in the Netherlands Cup that I call on GOLTV. And when you see these lower tier teams like third division, fourth division, making the game of their lives, this is when you believe that the game, the beauty, the essence of the game is still alive. And that's why I love these competitions, man. These League Cups, they're beautiful. We don't have that here. Hopefully, don't. And, I don't like it here. I don't think it's gonna work here in Peru, but because not because I don't trust the teams. I don't trust the people who organize the tournaments.
All right. Last thing before you get out of here, because we got to save the pipes. Rodrigo Mora and exit clauses. What's going on here?
So this is the thing with Rodrigo Mora, right? Farioli hasn't been playing him. He hasn't been on the starting 11. He's coming off the bench 10 minutes, 20 minutes. But the kid is that fantastic that even if you give him 5 minutes, he's going to create something especially beautiful when he plays. So he's kind of like giving up his hand on Rodrigo Mora. I don't think he's going to start this weekend against Sporting Club, but in the front office they set up a release clause for him for 70 mil, right? That was his original release clause, 70 mil. You got a contract until 2030 with Porto, but they were like, you know what? I think we want to make an adjustment, just a tiny adjustment, change it a little bit. So they go to 4 digits, brother. It's 100 mil now. Is 100 million euros the release clause for Rodrigo Mora if you want to take him out of Portugal. And of course, for the guys in Saudi Arabia, that's doable. But that's, I don't want to say easy money. Yeah, it is easy money for them. It is easy money. 100 mil. Yeah, we can drop 100 mil. We can drop 100 easily. But because they're saying that there's an offer for it without Etihad. I think it is one of those. For Rodrigo Mora already. So that's why, we got the offer. Yeah, they want to pay this. That's why they bump up the clause, the release clause for another 30 mil, which I think is going to make a difference for those guys again. But just praying for the soccer gods out there in the Mount Rushmore of soccer. Please, guys, don't let this guy go. Don't let this guy go to Saudi Arabia. Not to Saudi Arabia. He's 17 now. He's 17. Please. And because I'm selfish now, because I want to see him play in the Portuguese league all this season.
Yeah.
You know, I want to call it.
And Mora fits under their U22 initiative too in Saudi Arabia, to where it is a different category when it comes to players and their rosters. Okay. I only got you to raise your voice once, and it was about Manchester United. So I'm hoping that we are contributing to making sure that you're okay for the weekend. What do you call them?
Yes, sir. What do we have? We got tomorrow. We got kicking off the Portuguese league with my team, Gil Vicente versus Moreirense at 2:30, and of course the Clásico, the first Clásico of the season in Liga Portugal, Sporting Club versus Porto, at 3:30 on Saturday. Then we got Benfica on Sunday. You got the guys from Boston River playing Sunday night soccer. Attention, Kentucky. And of course, we close the weekend on a Monday with Cerro Largo versus Wanderers, Uruguayan soccer top.
As always, my friend, it's great to catch up with you. Great to see you. And save the pipes, because we have to have the pipes ready in case we're recording and we got a call that that we have to run and surprise you with when it comes to having conversations with you, as we always do. There it is. There it is, brother. Love you very much, and be safe, please. Preserve the pipes, and we will catch up with you again next week. We'll see you soon. There goes Nino Torres, and Nino is off and running. And we're trying, like I said, we only got him to raise his voice once. We know how fired up Nino can get, and we love it when he gets fired up. Don't get me wrong, but we want, because he's got a busy weekend. You heard how busy the weekend is, so we want to make sure that the pipes are at 100%, that they're at top, that they're right there at peak Nino. So when we go and have conversations with him while he's calling matches, that we're having these conversations and we're having fun. So like I said, GOLTV, and you heard the rundown. It's going to be a mix of both Portugal and South America for Nino this weekend. GOLTV, you can get it at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And it helps us out, helps them out, and it helps you out. And you get to watch what Nino does on a game by game basis there at GOLTV. And I mean, it's fun, and he makes it fun. All right, hot tag, last half hour of the show here on a Thursday. And for this means we head to Seattle. Like I said, name me a show today specifically that goes from St. Louis to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground to Peru to Seattle. I'll give you the number. It's 1. It's this one. Then we check in with our buddy Niko Moreno from Sounder at Heart and Pulso Sports. He is in. Oh, check the studio space. You digging it? There you go, brother. Good to see you. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, John? SDH family. Excited to be on here on a gorgeous morning here in the PNW, especially after the Seattle Sounders make history once again, becoming the first MLS team to be in 2 Leagues Cup finals. We were there in Vegas a while back when the Sounders lost to León. Now we'll be there to host the one and only Lionel Andres Messi and the Inter Miami team that I'm sure will come in here trying to get another title. I am on my 2nd cup of coffee, and we're just excited, John. I'm excited to be on, as always, with you, my friend.
Yep, and so we'll break it down. We'll start with Leagues Cup After Dark and your initial thoughts on the win. And there is a side plot that folks are going to have to keep an eye on, where we always kind of joke, and there's one player in particular that kind of has we call it the Nuhu hat trick. Usually it's like goal, hard tackle, like goal, assist, row, coming together, fight, and red card. Somewhere in there is the Nuhu hat trick. Last night in MLS Leagues Cup After Dark, we got the Nuhu hat trick. And now he will not be around for the matchup against Messi and friends this weekend because Nuhu went all Nuhu. How big of an absence do you feel this is going to be going up against Messi and friends, not having him back there no matter which version of Nuhu we get?
I always think it's a big absence when Nuhu's unavailable because of what he does defensively. Clearly, when you're playing a team as talented as the Inter Miami attack is, you're going to want a guy like Nuhu that can cover space, that can track back, that can be physical. You saw the great work he did both on Painter and Peck as the LA Galaxy switched those wingers to try to get around a very good Seattle Sounders defense. So I think his intensity is important, but his next man up mentality here in the Pacific Northwest. As you know, Brian Smetzer has been extremely vocal about how proud he is of this team's depth and that rotation and the ability to withstand injuries to Albert Rusnak, Jordan Morris, and you know, we could go on all day with the amount of injuries that the Sounders have had this season. So yes, it's an absence. I thought that this red card wasn't as outrageous as others. You know, Brian Smetzer said that he thought it was soft and that, well, he didn't call it soft, but that's kind of where he alluded to, and that Gabriel Peck sold it pretty well, and that he wasn't going to hold it against Nuhu. I tend to agree. I think that the challenge is very Nuhu-ish, where you could have just gone to ground, no need to put your feet that high. But like you said, that's just a little bit of that Nuhu factor that at times can put the Seattle Sounders in some predicaments. And in this one, it's the referee's call. And luckily for the Sounders, it wasn't as bad or as early as the red card that happened in the Orlando City game that ended up costing the purple team that game.
And obviously we'll get into purple team and Messi and friends here in a sec, but what we have seen from Seattle, regardless of competition, is we have seen the Tacoma Defiance Mafia come up. They just slip right in. They know the system. They know the drill. Doesn't matter if they're, 14 years old, however long they've been in the system. It's a plug and play. And you're seeing the younger players, once again, continue to step up at the back in key situations for Seattle. When you look at these younger players, who do you feel is going to have to step in and fill that Nuhu-ish void coming up this weekend? Who's going to be the number one guy in the spot shadow for you?
is Reed Baker Whiten. You know, he's the guy that's been battling for that position. He has been unable to lock it down or put New on the bench. He's had issues with records himself at times. He's had issues with some ill-advised defending. He's a player that should know better. Yes, he's young, but he, as Brian Spencer said it himself, he's one of the team's and club's biggest prospects. So he's the guy that's going to have to step up. I have no doubt that on the ball, he's going to be important, that his ability to glide into the final third, his ability to do those over and under laps at times is going to be part of what he will do well. How much defending can he do? How good can he be defensively, depending on what Inter Miami decides to throw your way in this one? I think that he's going to have to check himself for it. Look, it's not easy. And look, I understand that the Sounders, if they were ever going to play Lionel Messi and Rodrigo de Paul and Alba and Busquets in the final, a year when they played PSG and Atletico de Madrid and Botafogo, it's probably the best case scenario because you've already checked those emotions. You've put your, body into a position where you know you can play at that level. But it's a final. It's Lionel Messi. So, can a young guy like Reed be able to just bring it all down, focus, put the blinders on, and focus at the task at hand? I sure hope that's the case. But he's the guy that I think would have to come up big, as well as Osasa de Rosario. I mean, look, you talked about the Tacoma Defiance pipeline and what it does and the way that it supports the Seattle Sounders. And that's a guy that, look, yesterday, I thought he had a okay game. And, it's very easy to maybe go off of the line of saying he had a good game or great game because he did get that second goal, a very good goal, by the way, despite some very naive defending there from the Galaxy. But, it's the technical ability and the field awareness to flip the ball over the top and be strong enough to get past the defenders and then put the ball away in the manner that he did. But look, he had two very easy open looks on goal, missed both of those. He had some issues with his passing, I thought. His defending and pressing moments were also okay. So I am hoping that he grows from this game and can be even more effective against, and will need to, let me rephrase that, and will need to be a lot more effective against Inter Miami because, again, I think that the Seattle Sounders have a great blueprint on what not to do against Inter Miami because Orlando City had the opportunity to put away Inter Miami early and they did not. And when you give Messi time and you don't keep your foot on the neck of the Inter Miami team, they're going to come back and bite harder. So Osasa de Rosario will have to be more clinical in front of goal. He's going to have to be more sharp on his link-up play. But yes, that's another young guy, despite being 24, youngish guy that will have to step up in that final here at Lumen Field.
I thought it was interesting that, and it goes to the depth and the approach that what we've seen from Seattle is that I'm going to name the starting 11, and I'm going to go through the bench real quick. And there's going to be a name that's missing. And I want to see if everybody picks up on the name who's missing. I know you will, but I want to see if everybody else in the beat as I run through these names catches the name that's missing. De Rosario de la Vega, Ferreira, Rothrock, Christian Roldan, Obed Vargas, Nuhu, Jackson Reagan, Yamar, Alex Roldan, Andrew Thomas. That was your starting 11. Here's your bench. Bell, Fry, Baker Whiting, Leyva, Souza, Baker, Brunel, Minungu, Castro, Kim Ki-hee, and Kalani Kosarienzi. Someone is missing from that. Danny Musovski was not anywhere close. Danny Musovski, I imagine, was either in street clothes, hanging out in a box, or kicking it back somewhere. For Musovski, who is on a heater. I mean, literally, you take him to the Snohomish Casino and you get him rolling right now. You take him and it's like, whatever you pick, bro, I'm right behind you. He's on a heater right now. and he was kept out of this match against LAG, not getting a sniff of getting dressed out or nothing. And I thought that this was also key where Seattle is concerned in their growth, because they proved to themselves and reinforced to themselves that Danny's not around and we can still do what we did last night.
Yeah, look, Danny Musovski is going to forever remember that moment when he decided to jump up from the ground and chest bump the referee that kept him, and is going to keep him out of being part of two historic games for this Seattle Sounders team, potentially help contribute in that final to get the club's very first Leagues Cup title. And it was all because of a moment of just immaturity and being impulsive. So yes, I think that once again, that has been the story of the Sounders. You've heard talk about relentlessness about this team, and you've talked about gritty wins and next man up mentality. That's just the way that the Seattle Sounders have build that culture around this group, and that's why you guys got like the Rosario stepping up in the moments that they have, even when things aren't going their way. You got to give the young men credit for sticking with it, being like a goldfish and having a short memory like every striker should have. And he celebrates that like he had been having a baller of a game. He gives you that, Osase, the Rosario, right? A senior. I mean, it was great. So I do think that Seattle will have many ways to attack Inter Miami, and despite not having Danny Musovski, who you're right is on a heater, he is the poacher of poachers right now, and you would love to have him. But Seattle, it's all about the collective play. That's where they thrive. That's what makes them different. That's what gives them a chance against Inter Miami. It's not the individualities; it's about the collective play, and that's why, although no Danny Musovski, this team will continue to stay strong there for that game.
It is, in fact, a Borg up there in Seattle with the Sounders. It is about the collective and the assimilation of all individuals therein. Our buddy Niko Moreno from Sounder at Heart and Pulso Sports dropping by, as he always does, wrapping up Thursdays. Is it going to be – this is going to sound really simplistic, and you can light me up if it is. Is it as easy as saying use Seattle's speed on their surface to attack the back line of Messi and friends, considering how shaky it is traditionally, and continue to be clinical with your chances and defend and cover that spot that you anticipate Reed Baker-Whiting being in with Nuhu not being in the lineup? Is it that simple when it comes to the give and take of this match, do you think?
I think in some ways it is. And to add on to what you just said, simplicity, I think it's about the Seattle Sounders continuing to do what they've been doing well since the Club World Cup, and is keeping their identity. They're going to have to focus on their principles and their games. They got to be effective when it comes to the pressing. They were yesterday. Maybe they didn't pick up as many balls as they wanted to there of turnovers, but they did create a lot of moments where they forced LA Galaxy to a bad pass or an out of bound pass, and they were able to get the ball back. They maybe were not as effective after that turnover, but that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to be good in possession. They will have to use that speed, like you said, to attack the open spaces that will, I'm guessing, is going to be in Frey on that side. So whenever he gets forward, he's a guy that has the physicality to play good defense, but I would still expose that side. Pepe de la Vega, Pedro was cooking against the LA Galaxy, and I expect him to cook once again against Inter Miami. He's going to be extremely important for what Seattle does on that left side. And then on the right side, that's where I think Seattle's going to have to do a lot more of that, taking advantage of the moments that Jordi Alba gets forward. He's the guy that a lot of times leaves more spaces. And Falcon, for all that he's done okay, because I still think that he has a lot of improving to do, I just don't know if he has the ability to keep up with the intricate passing that the Seattle Sounders have at the time, the way they're using their movement, the way they're crashing the balls, the way that a guy like Obed Vargas gets forward, the movements from Jesus Ferreira, who, look, so many doubters on Jesus Ferreira. He has been so good, so important because of his versatility. He's been playing that 10 position. I thought that his link-up play was outstanding yesterday. He was finding guys where they needed to be. He found Osase more than one time. He creates so many opportunities. I think that he's going to be another guy that's going to have to be important against Inter Miami. But it is about Seattle Sounders playing Seattle Sounders ball, not changing anything, believing that they can beat this team with the offense, creativity, and volume that they've had. I mean, in Leagues Cup, they've been outstanding, but it all starts with their defense. I think that their defense can limit this Inter Miami offense. That's been their signature across this tournament. And that's what's going to have to be. It's going to be about Yeimar. It's going to be about Jackson Reagan. It's going to be about Alex Roldan, Christian Roldan. Those are the guys that are going to be occupying space, not attracting a guy like Rodrigo de Paul, not allowing Messi to get the ball consistently, disturbing those moments when they do have possession, and not allowing transition moments to happen, especially when it comes to beating the 18. Once again, is that blueprint that Orlando just left you. You cannot get dispossessed in the way that Orlando City got dispossessed and not expect Messi to take advantage of those moments in the final third. So that's what Seattle's going to have to do, is be very sharp on their build-up, very sharp on their build-out, very sharp on their passing, and I think they can do it. I really do. Obviously, Inter Miami, it's Inter Miami, and you got to respect it. And when it comes to set pieces on top of the 18, when it comes to a team that with Busquets at any moment, maybe he can slice you with a through ball and find Luis Suarez in front of goal. That's always going to be a possibility, but I do think that Seattle's form and their collective play does allow them to dare to dream. But it does go across, in my opinion, Andrew Thomas, who's had a phenomenal tournament as well. I think, as I mentioned, Yeimar Gomez-Andrade, a guy that just hit a milestone of 200 appearances for the Seattle Sounders. Christian Roldan, of course, and Pepo de la Vega, and of course, Jesus Ferreira. It's about that group that gives you that stability, that gives you that core group. They're going to have to be extremely effective against Inter Miami.
All right, since you mentioned him, I will go ahead and ask about him. Since Rodrigo de Paul has walked in the door for Messi and friends, it is evident and it's reinforced how much of a bad man Rodrigo de Paul is out there. What has he brought to Messi and friends that either they didn't have before or they've reinforced adding him to this starting lineup?
Is give them balance. It is that simple. He's a guy that is extremely versatile on the way he handles different positions, whether he's playing a little bit deeper, whether he's playing a little bit wider and higher. You could tell that has a build rapport with Lionel Messi, with Luis Suarez, but it's the physicality, and it's a guy that gives you the duality that maybe you didn't have before, right? When it was Segovia playing on that side, when it was Kremoski, you just don't have a guy that's gonna make you not want to have the ball around him, right? That's going to be able to occupy spaces, that will be physical, that can do so many more things defensively because of his experience and the way he plays that position. So to me, Rodrigo de Paul has brought balance, experience, and has allowed depth, right? I mean, look, Segovia comes off the bench yesterday because you have a guy like Rodrigo de Paul on the line. And Segovia off the bench, man, that was dangerous. I was not expecting that, especially with Baltasar Rodriguez getting the start. I was a little bit confused by that, but you could tell that because of a guy like Rodrigo de Paul, Mascherano can do certain things and move that final triangle of offense, right? That those four up top differently than they did before, and it's worked well. So balance, depth, experience, and leadership are all things that Rodrigo de Paul brings to this Inter Miami team.
All right, question to the floor from our friend David, who's a part of the Twitch pitch, and David asks, I know plenty of non-MLS fans will be cheering for Messi and friends, but will all but 2 MLS fan bases be rooting for the Sounders, meaning Miami and Portland? And I would probably add maybe Vancouver to that. What do you think?
I think that's fair. That is extremely fair statement. We all know that Inter Miami's and the way they entered the league, the way they came about, and I've always said that when you have an owner like Jorge Mas, and the way that the rules sometimes seem to kind of go Inter Miami's way, the way that sometimes the calls go Inter Miami's way, right? Because that's maybe one thing that Seattle's going to have to be prepared for, right? Is sometimes Inter Miami does get calls. I thought that Angulo PK that did not get called up in that Orlando City Inter Miami game could have changed a lot of things, and it didn't go their way. So because of that, every single fan base is not going to want Lionel Messi and Inter Miami to be successful and get that second title of Leagues Cup. So I do believe that there's going to be a lot of support for the Seattle Sounders, but the two that won't, and you're absolutely right, has to be Portland, has to be, of course, Inter Miami, but it's going to be incredible, man. I'm already seeing tickets fly out the door, although I've only seen them as cheap as $200, but they are flying. I think there's going to be a sellout without a doubt. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere here at Lumen Field. I'm just excited to be there. But yes, the masses will be going for the Seattle Sounders. Now, globally, Messi's Messi, so they're going to want Inter Miami to get that game. I'm sure that there's going to be a whole lot of Argentine fan base here flying from all over just to see Rodrigo de Paul and Lionel Messi try to get a title together once again.
All right, a couple of matches I did want to talk to you about heading into the weekend. Obviously, with Leagues Cup having the third place match and the championship match, 3 of the 4 spots going into the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. We got matches, so it's a shorter schedule. A couple of matches I wanted to have you look at. Lead off on Saturday night, Cincinnati and Philly. Cincinnati at home, a plus 141. Draws a plus 263. Philadelphia is a plus 169. What say you at TQL?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. Cincinnati has definitely struggled, since and after that Leagues Cup throughout their competition. They've struggled consistently. And on the other side, Philadelphia has been outstanding with the way that Cornell has been running that team. I think that I'm going to go with Cincinnati, and it's more of a gut feeling than anything. Cincinnati clearly went out this transfer window and got some talented players, and they know that it's a win now mentality. That's what I see from the Cincinnati team. So I think Evander and just playing at QTL, they're going to feel like this is the moment to bounce back from what has been a difficult stretch for Cincinnati. So I'm going to go with Cincy. Again, more of on what I think that they could do at home, the way that they can essentially try to break down Philadelphia, and maybe take advantage of those mid-range shots and set pieces that have been the way that Cincinnati can get some wins. But I'll take Cincinnati on that one.
Charlotte, 7 on the spin. Go to the Revs. Revs are favored at a plus 127. Charlotte's a plus 181. The draw's a plus 270. What say you?
I'll take Charlotte. I think New England got a good win against Columbus, to be honest. I was going to call it lucky, but New England should have had 3 or 4 goals in the first half alone. They weren't able to do so. Even I think Carlos Hill has one with Schulte. It got caught up in no man's land outside of his box, and still New England was unable to put that game away. But I think Charlotte has been very steady as of late. I thought that they got a very professional win against New York City. I mean, New York Red Bulls, apologize, against New York Red Bulls. I think that offensively, the team is starting to click a lot more. Love what Vargas is doing. Saha seems to be getting more acquainted. I think that Charlotte is a team that has found some traction and has been able to put their talent in positions to win games. And that's why I like Charlotte in that one.
Speaking of those two, they actually play each other. Red Bulls hosting Crew in New Jersey. Initially, Juice Boxers threw a blanket over the whole thing. They were just like, yeah, either side, same number. It has now shifted. Red Bulls are a slight dog. Crew is a slight favorite on the road at a plus 152, draws a plus 252.
I'm going with the draw, man. I couldn't make my decision into that game either. I think Columbus has maybe the opportunity to figure out if offensively their new acquisition, who obviously just got a goal, can give them a little bit of that TNT power they haven't had as of late, ever since they miss and Cucho Hernandez left the club. But defensively is what makes me very uncomfortable about the Columbus Crew. I thought that, as I mentioned, New England had so many opportunities to beat Columbus because their defensive line is pressed so high, which is normal for Wilfred Nancy, but is the lack of awareness and understanding when there's a long ball. They had difficulties just dealing with that sort of direct play. So Columbus, despite them being a team that is extremely talented, I just haven't seen Diego Rossi be as effective and as influential as in the past. There's a disconnect in the offense. And even with Gazdag, a guy that continues to grow game by game, because I really do think that he's gotten better and better. I'm sorry, not Gazdag. Whoa. But in general sense, I think that Columbus Crew, yes, Gazdag, it is Gazdag.
Yeah.
Gazdag, he is a guy that is grown game by game. I just don't see the fluidity that I used to see with this Columbus Crew. And I think that it is a little bit about that disconnect on the offense. So can they do it? Can they bring it? I just think Red Bulls is the team that's going to give them some problems, and that'll be a draw.
All right, and then the late game on Sunday, the game on Sunday after the third place game, after the championship game in Leagues Cup, late night. So it's Western Conference after dark. LAFC and San Diego. LAFC favored at a minus 143. San Diego is a plus 325, and the draw is a plus 317.
I want to hear the compass on the goals.
Okay.
My first instinct to take the over, but that San Diego Portland game was very odd. I thought that one was going to be a high scoring game, and it wasn't. But I like LAFC, man. I think Song has brought in something very different to this team. I think that even against in the Dallas game that I thought that they should have had, because they were the most purposeful team with possession, because I thought there was a whole lot of chances that were missed by the LA Galaxy. I just really like the way, even in that game where they weren't able to get the win, Ordaz, Son, and Bouanga are starting to find each other, and they moved and they shift, and they're very difficult to defend. Igor de Jesus needs to give them a little bit more offensively. I get that he's the defensive guy and he's the one that keeps the shape and holds it up, but I would like to see him maybe get more involved in the passing. But other than that, man, I just think LAFC is too much offensively for San Diego, and I think they'll take this game. I think that it'll be LAFC, but what's the compass on the goals?
3.5 is a plus 139. 4.5 is a plus 314.
Oof, no, that's a little bit too rich for my blood. But yeah, the 3.5 could be possible, but I do like LAFC. Look, San Diego is still a very good team, and San Diego can cause some issues, but there is a lot of dependency of what will Dreyer do. right? That is the guy that needs to be consistently on. It's not Chucky, it's not anyone else but Dreyer. And I feel like if there's something that this LAFC team does at times is be able to take at least one guy away that's not going to influence the game. And that could be Andres Dreyer. And to me, if he is unable to get in the game and be effective, that just really reduces San Diego's chances to win. So I'll take LAFC. And the 3.5 is not bad.
All right, so hit the promo for me. What's going on as you guys are getting ready for the championship, the Campeón de Campeones, the Leagues Cup? What's the story?
We're setting it up already. Okay, first of all, we have a not one-on-one, but it's a new segment that we've put together called the Coach's Corner. We've only had we've only had one segment in the Sound Our Heart network, which was with Preki. But today, we're actually going to talk to your friend, Gonzalo Pineda. We are going to have him on. We're going to have him talk about, his experience with Atlanta, his experience in Mexico. Of course, we're going to ask him about this huge moment for the Seattle Sounders. So go ahead and check that out now when it comes to this final, and everything is going to be surrounding this event. We'll be at every single practice, of course. I'm sure Friday is going to be a spectacle here, Saturday as well. So Pulso Sports is going to be on the ground with boots running, bunch of soldiers trying to give you guys every single piece of content that this provides. Preview to the game, during the game, and post game, of course. So we're going to be in the mix zone, try to get absolutely every interview. On Friday, we're going to have, as always, what we learned this week with Jeremiah Oshan, where we'll tell you what we learned from this game on Wednesday, what the lineup could look like on Sunday. We will try to provide a little bit of insight on what that Friday practice looked like. So if you want to know where the Sounders at, what happened that Friday, check out what we learned this week with Jeremiah Oshan. That should be up on the Nos Arietes and Sandra Hart podcast network, around afternoon Friday. And then, of course, Monday, we'll figure out whether it's a happy Monday or a sad Monday in the Pacific Northwest. I'm sure we'll spend a lot of time, if not most of the show, all the show, on this result of whatever happens between Inter Miami and the Seattle Sounders.
And as always, my friend, it's great to see you. Have a fun weekend in what we anticipate is going to be a raucous Lumen Field up there. And please make sure that you get all the intel that you need at the Providence and Swedish gas station and delicatessen. And we will catch up with you next Thursday. Get all the intel, getting ready for everything. Thanks as always, my friend. Love you very much. And we'll catch up with you next week.
You're the man, John.
All right, there goes Niko Moreno. And Niko is going to have a very, very busy time because, they have things that they got to do. They're getting ready for the Leagues Cup extravaganza and going up against Messi and friends. All right, a couple things once again before we go. Once again, laying out tomorrow for you. Lucas Panzica is going to be here, 104.5 The Zone from Nashville. He's going to bat leadoff. Break down everything when it comes to the Nashville side of things as Nashville gets ready to host Atlanta United. Obviously, Nashville right now in the juice box is a prohibitive favorite at a minus 185. Hopefully, we can catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. That'll be at 9:30. We get our MLS voice from Apple TV. Don't know who that is yet. When we do, we'll find out. That'll be at 10 o'clock, and we'll obviously talk about Atlanta United. Early intel says that the guest that is like a leading guest will have ties to this. It'll be discussing Atlanta United and Nashville as the primary and then getting into the rest of Major League Soccer. Then, once again, 10:30, final half hour. It's previewing everything else, previewing the weekend, letting you know what's going on around the planet, and we'll go from there. We are going to have a show on Monday. It is Labor Day, but still, it's a Monday, and it's coming off a match, so that's not going to change. We'll be back at 9:05 on Monday morning. That'll be discussing everything that happened on the weekend, and we'll break it all down for you there. Abe Gordon, Bart Keeler, Kaylor Hodges is going to join us on Monday since there is no school in session, and we're going to break down everything in USL Championship, USL League One, especially the Loudoun United situation that went down this past week, and we'll discuss that with Kaylor, go over the month that was in USL with our friends at the USL show and at Kaler Hodges. Once again, reminder, Saturday night, 7 o'clock pregame on the network, 7:33 kick. I'll have the call for you with Atlanta United 2, Huntsville City Football Club. Everybody else will be in Nashville getting you ready for that particular game. 8:40 kick. So it will be 7:30 pregame, Five Stripes Countdown 92.9 the game on the Odyssey app. Maddie's going north. Mike and Jason will be there. So it'll be literally as the twos match is starting. Pregame will be starting on 92.9 the game on the Odyssey app. 8:40 kick. So when our match is over, have multiple devices going. Let's just do it that way. Multiple devices going, one on us, one on the first team, and you can bounce back and forth with all of that is there. It's a very, very busy Saturday night for Atlanta United as an organization. Twos on the SDH network, first team 92.9 the game and the Odyssey app. All right, let's run through some of the other headlines and things that might have come across our desk. Rangers fans are calling for Russell Martin to get sacked after the Champions League humiliation by Club Brugge in Belgium. Rangers were a goal down, and it was 5 minutes after Tresoldi. Then Max Aarons gets sent off 3 minutes later for fouling Christos Solis. Then it was a 6-0 defeat for Rangers, 9-1 in the aggregate. Rangers fans are already calling for Russell Martin's head. And so some fans are like, get him out now before the seats are empty. Other folks were saying it was unacceptable. You deserve a lot better. 9-1 in the aggregate, losing to Club Brugge. And so people are mad, and they want Russell Martin to no longer be the head coach at Rangers. And there are some folks, as we got into the discussion with our buddy Nino Torres, some folks are kind of thinking that, Ruben Amorim ain't the man at Manchester United. So we got into that in hour number 1 and hour number 2 after they got slapped in the face by a fish and our friends at Grimsby Town. Once again, Grimsby is going to be taking on Sheffield Wednesday in the next go-around. So really quickly, let me take the tour, see if there's anything that we missed while we've been on the air. We mentioned Nkunku. Ronaldo is committing to 2 more years. John Durden at The Guardian. It is Saudi Pro League season kicking off today, just before the international break. And so the 40-year-old is bound to reference Al Hilal reaching the quarters of the Club World Cup. July, the Ministry of Sport announced that 3 clubs had passed into private hands. Al Khaloud, the one in the top tier, have been taken over by the Harburg Group, run by Ben Harburg, venture capital investor. And the first 3 Saudi sports clubs have been privatized through a public offering: Al Ansar, Al Khaloud, and Al Zufi, with their ownership transferred to investment entities. Building the brand of Al Khaloud is not going to be easy, according to The Guardian and Durden. The club has spent much of their history outside the top tier, based not in Riyadh or Jeddah, but Al Ras, 120,000 folks, about 250 miles northwest of the capital. Al Khaloud, promoted in 24, finished 9th, 15 goals from the Comoros international Maizian Maulida, and a defense including Nigerian center back William Troost Ekong. New owners have brought in the English manager Des Buckingham. He won the Indian Super League with Mumbai City. Part of the City Football Group secured promotion with Oxford United to the Championship in 2024, fired in December. Partially, some thought, in English football. I know that's a shock because of poor results. So you have Al Ittihad as champs. Tigers deserve the help. Benzema, Diaby, Conte, Laurent Blanc has kept the team together. And so it looks like you have Ronaldo staying for 2 more years. Of the others, attention to Niam SC, promoted, who represent a city yet to be built. Christophe Galtier is in charge with funds at his disposal. The Big 5 unlikely to become the Big 6. But it looks like Cristiano Ronaldo has committed to 2 more years, and the Harburg Group is now in charge of El Khaloud. So keep an eye on that. A man is arrested over online abuse directed at England's Jess Carter during the Euros. The subject, 59 from Lancashire, bailed as police say more arrests are expected over the what the police are referring to as an appalling abuse case. Suspicion of malicious communications in relation to some of the messages released on bail while the investigation continues. And let's see if there's anything else I am missing, not in that particular newspaper. And let me take one more run at the transfer updates and see if those are there. And we will see if anybody else is making waves here late in the morning, since we are now officially in added time. Xavi Simons, we mentioned that. Tom Fellows has been given permission to undergo a Southampton medical ahead of a move from West Brom. The fee is £7 million plus £3 million. I think that's it. College, a lot of it today and tonight on your streaming services. So find your favorite school or just go onto your streaming service. Watch somebody you haven't watched before. Do that. Then once again, remember with tonight, mainly college, the draw for the Champions League coming up in 45 minutes. So we'll know the 4 pots and we'll know how everyone's laid out for the Champions League draw. And tomorrow, once again, stacked show. Saturday is a day of full soccer first team and second team involving Atlanta United. Monday, we're back with a show and reaction Monday to break everything down. Thanks to our friends, the Ball Watchers, or the Ball Watching, the noun in St. Louis. Thanks to Justin and Jake for dropping by to break down everything in the Lutz era and where they may go from here. Thanks to Maddie for joining us before practice. Keep an eye out for Training Ground Dispatch and for Box to Box involving the first team after the second team got the win against Messi and Friends 2 last night, winners 4-1. For those that may not know, let me give you the rundown in the current division structure in the East, just to give you an idea about the sprint that it is going to be. Right now in the Eastern Conference, Red Bulls at 48, they're in. We don't know where, but they're in. Huntsville, Philadelphia, both at 43 points. Huntsville City with a match in hand, they have one more win. Chicago, New England, Chattanooga FC, all at 41 points. Chicago with one more win. New England with a far superior goal difference. It's double digits more than Chattanooga. It's like plus 12 to plus 2. So New England, they have the space right now. Chattanooga would have to win big by a lot of matches. New England would have to stumble or just have a lot of tight matches. That's your 4, 5, and 6. Toronto FC 2, 33 points. They're in 7th. NYCFC 2, 32 points. They are in 8th. That's the playoff bar. Right now, Orlando and Core, both at 30 points. Orlando City B has 2 more wins. Crown Legacy at 29 points, 1 more win than FC Cincinnati 2. That gets us to Atlanta United 2, who are at 28 points, 22 matches. So match in hand still. They win that, they would be a point out of the playoffs, and they would have to keep pace with everybody else. Right now, and obviously Inter Miami CF2, 22 points, and Columbus Crew 2 at 17. So here's the rundown. To get into the 8th spot, if you include NYCFC2, you have 6 teams separated by 4 points in the Eastern Conference. NYCFC2 is in. Orlando City, Core, Crown Legacy, FC Cincinnati 2, Atlanta United 2. That right there is 8 through 13 separated by 4 points right now in MLS Next Pro. And the matchup with Huntsville City Football Club coming up tonight, coming up Saturday night at the Fraction. Big, 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 big. I cannot impress upon you enough. Big, 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 big. So we'll have that, and we'll get you ready for the weekend tomorrow with everything going on in and around the planet. So once again, thanks to the Ball Watching, or the Ball Watchers. Thanks to Maddie, thanks to Nino, thanks to Niko, and thanks to y'all for, as always, being a part of everything here on SDH AM. So back at it again, lesson 22. Since it is the end of the show, from Middle Georgia, day 1 of 2 of this, back at it again, same location tomorrow, but I'll actually have my headset because I will actually have my power cord. Back at it again, lesson 22. Since it is the end of the show, means I get to do this. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plata. We'll catch up with you again tomorrow morning, 9:05 Eastern.